Welcome to the Brain Picker Pro Show, live from Lake Wiley, South Carolina, and all the way up in the northern part of the country is my good friend, fellow investor. I've been to his office. He's been to my office. We're in a couple masterminds together. Now he has his own mastermind. Is Tom Olson. What's going on, buddy?
How you doing, Larry? You kind of said way up north, like we're up in Minnesota or something, or up in Wisconsin. So I'm in Gary, Indiana. My office is in Gary, Indiana, which is just a stone's throw from Chicago.
Right.
So we're really in the Midwest.
Right.
And if you look at kind of like east and west or north and south, we're not too far north more than you guys. So
Right.
so maybe a state north of you guys, but we do get a little colder weather, I think.
Well, you got to remember, I'm geographically challenged. Right?
That's true. Okay.
I had a student one time called me up and said, "Larry, I'm one of your students, and I'm calling you from Denmark." I'm like, "Great. What state is that in?" I'm like, "Denmark is a country?"
It's across the pond.
That's right. So go ahead and tell our listeners a little bit about yourself. I've known you for many, many, many years, and we've hung out a lot. We've been on cruises together, our families and stuff, and do a lot of business together. You've hung out at my office. I've hung out at your office. But tell our listeners and viewers a little bit about yourself.
Sure. So I can go all the way back to how I got in real estate, if you want, or we can just take this in many different directions. So I'll just kind of go back to there. So I read a book called Think and Grow Rich when I was 12 years old, and reading that at 12 years old. I have a 12-year-old now, so I'm thinking to myself, I'm trying to get my 12-year-old daughter to start reading the Zig Ziglar books and start reading these self-help books now. And in my opinion, that was a turning point in my head to change like the way a teenage, boy would think through the rest of his life. So, and I thought to myself, like, I can really have whatever I want, whatever I can dream, I can have. But later on in my life, I kind of realized it's not just all for me. It's really like there has to be a purpose. There has to be a purpose in life of what you can do. And later on, when I was 19, graduated high school, read Rich Dad, Poor Dad right when it first came out, and bought my first house when I was 19. So I got married when I was 20. I had just bought my first house, and that kind of like started me into real estate, thinking to myself, I want to hold on to these houses. And in fact, I'm in the fifth or sixth house that we've lived in, and we own 4 of our previous houses that we've lived in. So that kind of has helped. I think that's one of the keys that people don't teach enough in real estate classes and courses is like you can do this on your own with your own personal residence when you start, if you have the right mindset. Right. So that's why I kind of bring people back to that Think and Grow Rich. If you have the right mindset and the Rich Dad, Poor Dad, even those 2 books like kind of helped me through those, make right decisions through that time. So, I started in construction. I'm in construction. Construction is my background. I started working in construction when I was 12 years old. So another thing that I started when I was 12 years old. I can still remember in high school going to basketball practice until 6 or 7 o'clock at night, and then working until 11 or 12 o'clock at night before they had all these laws and rules about kids not being able to work that late. I was out working. In fact, I went to a private school in which I believed so much in the private school. It's the same school that I send my kids to, that my parents got to the point where they couldn't afford to send me to school. And I said, I'm going to work and I'm going to pay my own way to go to private school. And I did through most of high school. I had a paper out, and then I also worked in construction. And getting right out of high school, bought my first rental when I was 20 years old with my good friend Joshua Belk, who's now my accountant and my brother-in-law, really, really good guy. And but I kind of stayed in construction. So I stayed in construction. That was my main thing. I started my own side business there, 20 years old. But I was working full-time, 40, 60 hours a week in my business, for somebody else. Right. And as that time was progressing, I was working on the side. So I always had side work. I don't know how I got it. It was just word of mouth. Tell the paint stores, tell the people that you do work for them. Right. They call you back. It just always seemed like I had some kind of side work going on, and didn't really stay in real estate too much more. I had that one rental. I had my own personal residence, and didn't really do too much more in real estate until 2006. So 2006, if you were in construction or you know anything about construction, 2006 is when we had the crash.
Right.
We didn't really feel the effects in the economy until 2008 when some of these other big companies fell. But in 2006 is when it really happened. And in 2006 for us, it was I was making about six figures, 100 grand, between my employment and between side jobs. So life was good. I mean, it was fine. I just had a baby. I think it was our second kid. And I mean, literally overnight, it was just drop of a hat. You go from making these six figures to like 20 grand overnight. And it was like, you could feel it. It wasn't just like fear. It was overnight. There's no work,
Right.
Construction stopped dead.
Right.
I can remember, I hear people saying now that they were in construction. They were watching new construction permits in their area. And it was going from it went from 600 permits, pulled in that county or in that 1 month to like 60 in 1 month. And it happened. It was 2006 that happened. And during that time, I actually made some phone calls. I'm like, holy crap, what do I got to do? I got to figure out how to put food on the table for my own family. So I made two major decisions at that point in 2006, between 2006 and 2008. And one was I started calling people. I had never done that before. I had never been proactive about my business and said, I'm going to go out and find new people. So
you didn't have to.
I didn't have to, right? So 2 or 3 phone calls in, I found a guy. He's like, I need you to start this job tomorrow. And it was just a painting job. So I painted this whole house. And the guy, I did something that he had never seen before. And you being an investor, you can probably attest to this, and you can probably understand where this guy was coming from. But I had never seen this before.
Right.
So I got the job done on time, and I got the job done on budget. And it was a complete epiphany to this guy. It's like, oh my goodness, I didn't believe that this even existed out there. You did what you said you were going to do, and it ended up turning out. So one thing led to another. So within that first week of me being on my own, completely like losing my job, I go from not having any work to all of a sudden now he wants me to run all of his rehabs. And he at the time was working for investors that had realized, hey, this is 2006. We're already having turmoil in the markets,
right?
And they were getting great prices on houses. So they were flipping. They were doing lots of flips at the time. And so I went from just doing some side jobs to all of a sudden now I'm running 3 rehabs a month. And we were pretty much finishing about 30 rehabs a year for his 3 investors that he was doing business for. Fast forward about 6 months, all of a sudden, like I don't know if I had proved myself. God had given me a little bit of wisdom at the time, and I had spoken up for myself a little bit at the time. But within 6 months, I was a 50-50 partner with this guy. I was running everything. I was working with his investors. I was helping. I was getting to the point where I was even helping them vet the deals on the front end and doing the rehab, and everything was working out. 6 more months down the road, after I become partners with this guy, he decides he's going to move. Like all of a sudden, out of the blue, this guy was like one of those. I mean, as you can see, having a business and then all of a sudden giving 50% of it away, like he made some really rash decisions quickly. And he made another rash decision. He's going to leave and leave everything he had here and just move to Mississippi or Alabama or somewhere down there.
Right.
And I honestly never heard from him again. It was just like, it was the strangest thing, but it was an opportunity that I feel like God had given me. And I had to figure out what was I going to do then. I'm like, holy crap, here I am again, I'm losing everything. What am I supposed to do?
Right.
So I just thought to myself, why don't I go and talk to these 3 guys that we're doing business with and say, hey, if I can help you find the houses, I'll help you vet the deals, I'll help you find houses, I'll do the rehab for you, I'll even help you get utilities turned on, which most contractors aren't willing to do.
Right.
And then I'll even bring a realtor. I had realtor friends at the time, and I had known some of the realtors that were working with these houses even, and I said, hey, I'll even work with a realtor. I'll get them in the property beforehand to ask them what it needs to take in order to sell the property. I'll coordinate with them. And if you'll just give me the rehab, get the rehab. If you just give me the rehab, I'll do all this work for you. I was just trying to put food on the table.
Right.
But I didn't realize was how much value that was giving to these investors.
Right.
And we did, so within the next 5 years, we did about 100 flips for those 3 investors and made them a ton of money. And the whole time all I was doing is getting the rehab. So I had built this construction company. out of doing that. And it was just me. I mean, I was the one out swinging the hammer. I was the one out on the jobs every single day, making sure materials were there, running the crews, doing all of that. And we were doing about 30 rehabs a year for these investors, helped make them make a ton of money. And then something happened in 2011. I hooked up with Wayne Schaefer, eventually became partners with him, and kind of let my construction company just sit on the side. It kind of made that construction company just be like, you know what? I told Christina and Josh, my integrator, or my CEO, and then kind of the construction manager after that underneath her. I'm like, sink or swim, you guys are going to make this work. Kind of got EOS implemented into that business as well, and even grew that business when I was working full time in another business in a partnership with Wayne, like from a $500,000 a year business to a $5 million a year business, when it was pretty much on the side and I didn't have my time involved with it. So me and Wayne together, we did about 1,000 deals together. We wholesaled a lot of those houses. During the time with him, I came up with a program called the Active Turnkey Program. I even trademarked the phrase Active Turnkey, and there's even trademarking on the Active Turnkey, which is basically the buy, rehab, rent, refinance, and repeat method, but you're doing it with a turnkey provider.
Right.
So really all that is just the exact same thing I was doing for these fix and flip investors. I'm helping investors find properties that work. Right now, we're buying houses. I can wholesale to an investor, and they can be all in, purchase plus repairs, about 80 cents on the dollar. So they buy a house for, say, 60, put 20 into it. It's worth 100 all fixed up, but they're only into it for 80. They can go and refinance and pull out most of that money.
Right.
And their cash on cash returns, and they can just keep recycling that same money over and over and over again. And it's worked really well for a lot of our investors. I probably have 4 or 5 guys that we've completely made financially independent with their 20, 30 rentals that we've helped them create in that way. And so today, so last year, me and Wayne kind of split ways just because of the vision being a little different way. I think he's a great guy. I appreciate everything that we've done together. But I just have a fantastic team, and now we've had a company called Good Success that we've added to our brands of Olson Group, Olson Construction Management Company, which is my construction management company. Olson Property Services is now the company that we use to manage rentals for our turnkey buyers and for my own personal portfolio. And then Good Success is the education company, which right now we have an amazing podcast, Good Success Podcast. I've created the Active Turnkey book that we're selling. I think we're just giving it away right now. And writing a book called Good Success, have the Good Success Mastermind, and have the Community Go-Giver event, which was amazing this year. Got to really let people come into my office again, see my vision for giving away $1 billion and for also flipping the city of Gary, which is my kind of 2 big things. So going back to 2008, the other decision I made was I was in an A neighborhood, nice house. Right. I decided I'm going to keep that house, and I'm going to go move to the city of Gary, which most people, if they know it, like I bought a house for $19,000 cash, put $15,000, $20,000 into it, and I really decreased all my expenses during that time in my life. And if I didn't do that, I wouldn't be able to do what I'm doing today. And a lot of hard decisions, a lot of things that had to be done, but sometimes we're just not willing to let go of that. Of what we have. We think we've got all this stuff. We've got to keep it all. And sometimes it's better just to let it go.
That's absolutely true, man. I really appreciate you taking the time to explain that and bringing everybody up to date. And, and you've had to go through what I call short-term pain for long-term gain, right?
Yes.
Downsize, get your overhead in line, and take care of business and put food on the table for your family, and then start growing and scaling a business. But, that's what I call short-term pain for long-term gain, right? So you mentioned a couple of things I want to elaborate a little bit on. A lot of our students are already kind of familiar, but I'm sure there's a lot out there that aren't. You mentioned about your integrator and about implementing EOS. Talk just a minute about EOS and what that is and where it comes from.
So, there's a book called Traction that was written by Gino Wickman. He also has a lot of other books. I think Traction and Rocket Fuel are really the 2 catalyst ones. There's another one called Traction, which is kind of just a regurgitation of Traction. But But really, I mean, we've implemented EOS to the extent that we feel like we can implement it, and then we've added things onto it, because I don't think any business can run. You can't have every single business run the exact same way. There always has to be a little bit of difference in that. So, like, there's some things in the book Good to Great. There's some things in the One Thing. There's some books in As a Man Thinketh. There's some books in The Richest Man That Ever Lived, by which is basically talking about Solomon in the book of Proverbs.
Stephen Scott.
Yeah, so there's some tons of other great books out there, but EOS gives you a really nice, simple way to run your business. It kind of gives you a nice structure, and it helps you put systems and meeting pulses in place to help you with that momentum. What we don't realize in business sometimes is momentum is the key. If you're a leader in your business and you're leading your business, you're not focused on momentum and keeping things moving every single week, every single day. So if you think about a train, for instance, a train going 60 miles an hour down a track can run right through a concrete wall like nothing happens. But if it's stopped, it could just be stopped by a stick or by a metal rod. So that's the same way our businesses are. If you have momentum growing. So for instance, right now, when you first start and you're trying to find private lenders, that momentum in your business to find a private lender is hard. You have to go out every time and find a new private lender for every single deal.
Right.
Well, now for me in my business, I've got 108 people in my lender's queue that loan me money, and they're like asking for the next deal.
Right.
So it's created so much momentum that like I don't have to go out and keep restarting every single time I have a deal.
Right.
And that's what EOS does for your business. And I'm a little bit more passionate about business than I am even about real estate. I love real estate, don't get me wrong. But I think that business is all about the people, and I'm much more passionate about how I can help the people in my business. I probably employ too many people to a fault to a certain degree. Probably make a whole lot less money personally because of that. But in my opinion, it's an investment in my people. And I think that if I'm ever going to be able to give away $1 billion, or if I'm ever going to have $1 billion company, which I believe I'm going to have in order to be able to give away $1 billion, I have to constantly invest into my people. And that's what EOS kind of gives you, that outline. It tells you what your accountability chart looks like. In any business, you're going to have 3 main departments, which is going to be your sales. If you don't have sales in your business, you got nothing.
Right.
It's the most important thing in the business. And don't get me wrong, like if you don't have a good bookkeeper, you're going to also have a bad business. But like if you don't make a sale, nothing happens. You don't buy or sell without a sale. So sales, operations, what do you do to create that product, and then finance. And under finance or admin, you've got HR, you've got bookkeeping. Under operations, you might have your construction team, you might have your property management team. Under sales, you might have your marketing, you might have acquisition, disposition, sales outside, sales inside, however you want to call it. But that's really the 3 main departments in any kind of business. And then it kind of teaches you to have a weekly level 10 meeting and a quarterly meeting and a yearly off-site meeting that we take our leadership team, and we even take a little bit more than our leadership team, kind of any advisors that we think are important that could end up on that level. And that's really what EOS does, and I'll tell you in a nutshell, is help you keep momentum in your business. Make sure that issues get solved every week. Make sure that you have a good structure. That accountability chart is so important to know who's supposed to go to who if there's an issue, especially if you grow. Because if just me and you start a business, Larry, me and you start a business, anytime there's communication, it's just got to go between me and you, right?
Right.
But if we had a third person, it doubles communication. You had a fourth person, it triples the different communication levels that have to happen. And those meetings every week in every department kind of help all those things come together.
Right. And the bottom line is, read the book Traction and Rocket Fuel by Gino Wickman. And I forget who wrote Rocket Fuel, but Gino Wickman wrote Traction. And it's a great way. Every business has an integrator and a visionary. And then you have an accountability chart, which is what you were mentioning a minute ago about marketing, operations, sales, and finance, and that sort of thing. So the other question I wanted to ask you was, you mentioned briefly about the BRRRR method. I don't think you even used the term BRRRR, but that's what you referred to. Buy, rehab, refinance, or buy, rehab, rent, refinance, and repeat. Right?
Yes, sir.
So that's really what your whole active turnkey model is based on. So describe a little bit about what is the BRRRR method. Some people may not understand that, but tell them a little bit about that and how that works.
So, I mean, if you're a fan of bigger pockets, like they talk it all the time. Like you buy a house, you go. I mean, that's kind of the old school way of doing things. The old school way of doing things is you as an entrepreneur, you as a full-time dentist or attorney or doctor or engineer, go out. You're gonna go find a house, and you're gonna get a good deal on it, right? So you're gonna go out and try to find a deal on a house that needs some rehab. And then you're going to go out and you're going to find contractors. You're going to manage the contractors. You're going to learn about city permits. You're going to learn how to find contractors, how to beat them up, how to make sure that they get the job every day and get done on time and on budget. You'll learn all that stuff. And then once that's all done, you got to become a property manager. You got to put a tenant in there. You got to figure out what the laws are to be able to rent properly and not break the law, with leasing laws and doing that kind of stuff. In some states, even if you own the property, you can't even manage the property yourself. You have to have a property manager manage for you. So you have to do all that yourself. So you buy the house, you rehab the house, or you get somebody else to get contractors to rehab the house. You rent the house, and then after that, you have to collect monthly payments. You have to do all that stuff, and then you think to yourself, okay, I'm into this house cash. Now I'm going to refinance the house. So
right.
If it used to be if you wait a year, and then they kind of pulled it back to 6 months, and now there's even programs where you can do a delayed refinance and refinance within 3 months. But most of our people, I encourage them to wait 6 months. I think the terms are better, and I think it's an easier loan to get. So you can pull out 75%. Some banks are even going up to 80% again of what the house will appraise for. So let's go back to the numbers. House. A lot of our active turnkeys, people are buying for 50 to 60. They're putting 15 to 30 into the houses, and let's just say they're all into the house $80,000, and then it appraises for $100,000. Well, they can pull out $75,000 and only have $5,000 of their own money in the deal. And that's pretty much what the BRRRR method says. And then, okay, you started with 80 grand. You have $5,000 still into the property, so you have 75 more grand. If you can add $5,000 to that program, you could pretty much do this every single 6 months. So you buy a house, you rehab the house, you rent it, you refinance it in 6 months, and then you start all over again. If you do that twice a year for 10 years and then stop, I think most people will become financially independent within 20 years because they'll start and then if you start using the snowball effect, which can even multiply your gains even more, where you start paying off that first loan, so you start taking all the rents and all the extra money, you start paying off that first loan, you'll pay off that first loan within a couple years, really like 6-7 years. Right. And then it'll be a snowball effect. You can have them all paid off within like 16 years, have 20 free and clear houses. If you only bought 20 houses in a 10-year period of time, you can have them all paid off within 16, 17, 18 years. And you might have maintenance. You might have some other issues that come in involved. Maybe it takes you 20 years. But most people, if they put themselves on a 20-year plan and you started with, say, 100 grand and you could add 5,000 to that, investment every 6 months, you might think that's a really good plan. And you end up with 20 free and clear rentals. I don't care how you slice it, you're going to end up with somewhere between $10,000 and $16,000 a month in cash flow, passive, just coming in automatically every single month. And you start thinking that way, and you're like, oh my goodness, like retirement or whatever you want to do for financial independence is an easy thing. It's a very attainable way to be able to have financial independence. And that's kind of what Active Turnkey kind of just puts that on steroids to a certain degree and says, hey, I'm a turnkey provider. I'll do it for you. So I'll help you find the house at the price that I think you could still buy it. We can even rehab it for you, so you don't even have to learn how to be a contractor or learn how to beat up contractors. And then I'll manage the property for you as well, so you don't have to learn how to do all that stuff. So I believe the Active Turnkey program is one of the most valuable programs that any real estate person. I even think it's great for you as a real estate entrepreneur. If you're going to create, I think it's a great program for you to sell to your investors because it's so much value. And I believe in turnkey rentals, and I think even turnkey rentals have a good place in the market too, because you can buy speed. So let's just say a guy's got $1 million and he wants financial independence. Instead of buying like the active turnkey model, like if you only have $100,000, I think the active turnkey model might be a little better way to go. It's slower, but it'll get you there. The turnkey model, you can buy, with $200,000, $25,000 each, you can buy 8 houses at one time. Boom, and you can start instant cash flow right away. So that's kind of like the difference between the active turnkey model and the turnkey model. But BRRRR kind of is you doing it yourself. Active turnkey is the provider doing it all for you.
Right. That's a really, really good point. Now, you're doing active turnkey, plus you're doing a few wholesales. You're doing some rentals for your own portfolio and a few fix and flips yourself as well. Right now, the market is pretty hot, right? So where are you getting most of your deals right now?
We have to have our hooks in many waters to get deals.
Good point.
So right now, we've really, in our market, we haven't had to go out and really be focused on direct to seller until this year. So this year, we just started implementing that, and we've probably gotten, if you don't count wholesalers, because I've always been a proponent of networking with wholesalers, because sometimes wholesalers just get really good deals. I mean, and they've worked for me over the years, and I've done really well on deals sometimes that I bought from other wholesalers.
Right.
And sometimes it's really good. I mean, I would tell you there are 3, maybe 4 really big wholesalers in my market, and I have trained 2 of them. Like if you get to that, you get those guys that are hungry, you can train them, and you can. I bought their first 6 or 7 deals. That was kind of part of their training, like I'm buying your deals, but at the same time, I'm teaching you what I want. So if you can learn what I want, there's probably other people out there that might be willing to pay more than me. And now I probably only buy 2 or 3 from them every year. But I mean, I have developed that to be able to teach them. Now they're doing 60, 80, 100 deals a year, and they're wholesaling 2 or 3 to me, but they're wholesaling to, higher prices to other people. But they learned by selling to me.
Right.
So right now, I'd say probably we're buying out of the 100 deals or so that we'll do this year. If I had to guess off the top of my head, which I think would be pretty accurate, we have probably purchased 5 of them direct to seller. We have done pretty well at auctions this year, believe it or not. Foreclosure auctions, we've probably purchased 30 from foreclosure auctions. We bought 1 or 2 from tax sales. We have bought probably still 10, 15 off of MLS. We've probably bought 3 or 4 from HUD and auctions. So even live auctions now are pretty hot in our market. So live auctions, auction.com would be another 15, 20 deals. And then maybe 3 or 4 just from, relationships from realtors and such like that. So, I mean, a good amount from wholesalers, a good amount from MLS, a good amount from direct to seller, which right now we're ramping up that, and we're starting to see a lot more action in that. Wholesalers have probably given us maybe the most this year. Second, maybe with the auctions or the live auctions and share sales and that kind of stuff. But we're putting our feelers out for every single way we can possibly go. We're probably going to go back. We're probably going to go do direct to seller. That's going to be our main focus for 2019.
Right.
And every market's different. Our market, I feel like right now, is just going to start opening that up because you're going to start seeing a little bit more distressed sales. And that's kind of the direction that we're headed right now.
Right. Okay, that's good. That is good. So I really like that you gave us multiple things: wholesalers, live auctions, direct to seller, tax sales, foreclosure auctions. I've always said I would rather have 10 ways to find one property than only one way to have to find 10 properties, right? And you've got to have multiple sources, and we've even started expanding out and growing as well in our marketing. So, Tom, tell us a little bit about. I mean, you're doing 100-ish deals a year, and you're doing rehabs, you're doing active turnkey, rentals. What does your team look like?
Okay, so we have 39. I have 39 employees, which I don't. Again, like I said, I don't need that many employees to do what I do. Out of the 39 employees, I had this count within the last month. I think 16 or 17 of them are construction.
Uh-huh.
And a lot of them are actually swinging the hammer. A lot of them are actually on, because we have our own construction. We have 2 or 3 construction crews going on at the same time.
Right.
In property, so let's just start at the top. So we've got me, my CEO, which she's over all the companies. So she is like my go-to person. If I have a problem, I'm going right to her. Right. Occasionally, I'll come down to the next level of leadership. But Christina is my rock. She's the one that really, I would say, runs the show here. And then over here, I've got Jared, who runs my buy and sell company. So my buy and sell company is over here. And in buy and sell, I mean, that's what most people are. So most of your investors are just kind of Jared, and then maybe an acquisitions person, which we have 2 acquisitions person and 1 part-time acquisition person. But he also doubles as our closing coordinator. So he's in acquisitions and he's also our closing coordinator. And then Jared has an assistant as well, because Jared now is kind of doing some of the smaller projects instead of like sending it to the construction company. Some of these smaller where you can just call somebody and get it done. He'll do that. And then under Jared also, we have a field guy, which he's the one that's going out, looking at properties, writing up like mini scopes of work, not construction scopes of work, but many. He understands how much repairs cost. He understands, how much we should be bidding on the house based off of ARV, times whatever we think is the right, formula for that house, minus repairs, minus whatever we want to make for our house, for our deal. And so he's the field guy. And then when we do have wholesale deals, he'll go out and put up some bandit signs every once in a while. We don't do a lot of bandit signs. He'll help a little bit with bandit signs on the front end too, to acquire. But again, we're not really doing that too much right now. He'll take pictures every week. He's taking pictures on those houses. So that's kind of the buy and sell company. The construction is a beast. So I've got 2 construction managers at the very top of that.
Right.
Probably going to switch that around in the next 3 to 6 months. There'll only be 1. I got project coordinators. So they are going out checking jobs every single week that we have other contractors working on, not our own teams, but other contractors. And they're taking pictures, they're giving updates to our investors, they're giving updates to the internal teams. That's what the project coordinators do. And then I have an O-team lead, and then he is in charge of the actual, what I call O-teams, which is our on-the-ground, boots-on-the-ground, construction workers that work for us personally. And that's quite a bit of people. So that's construction. Oh, and then also in construction, there's kind of a finance person. Her seat is in finance. She sits under finance, but she's the one that orders all the material. So, I mean, we'll probably order $2 million worth of material. That's a lot of work for a PC or anybody. So She is always working on getting us better prices. She's working with some of our suppliers and affiliates to be able to get us even better prices. We're working on right now with deals in China to get cheaper flooring and that kind of larger stuff. So she's really working that business from that angle. And so then from construction goes property management. So Cheryl's my property manager. She's the lead on that. I have 1 assistant in that group and then another assistant that really just helps with the utilities. So because we're doing so many active deals, like right now we probably have 7 houses that need utilities to get turned on. So she's working with the cities, and then her husband works for us part-time to just help go out to the houses for when NIPSCO or the utility company's going to come out and turn them on, or when the city's going to come out and inspect and all that kind of stuff. And then I have 1 handyman right now in for property management. And obviously, you know what a handyman needs to do whenever there's a complaint. They go out, they check the place. If he can fix it, fine. If not, we've got to hire, a plumber or somebody. He can do some minor stuff, but he can't do like all the major stuff.
Sure.
That's property management. And so then I've got Good Success. So Good Success, Josh Culler runs that. If you've seen the Good Success podcast, you know Josh. He's great. And then I've got Kevin, which sits in marketing in there, and then Emily, which is also marketing. But Kevin's also kind of on the leadership team because he helps marketing for all the companies. So it's a little bit of a complex, system to the outsider until you see it on my accountability chart and see how I'm thinking through this. But that's and in Good Success also, I can't forget Erin. She's our customer care person. She's the one that sends out all the goodies to people, make sure they're on the phone calls. Does an amazing job with that. Christina helps a little bit for Good Success as well. And then I have mine and Christina's personal assistant, Gabby, which we wouldn't be able to do much without her because she pretty much helps us she probably helps even get this Skype call organized and make sure that we're here today. So
right, there you go.
That's it. I hope I didn't forget somebody. Oh, and I'm sure about finance as well. So we've got finance is Christine, which is my finance director, finance manager. And then under her is a bookkeeper called Lauren. Under her is also Patty, which, as I told you, works in construction as well with all the ordering materials. And then my funding coordinator, who also does the bookkeeping for Olson Group and Good Success. She's the one that does all my loans. Like when I need a loan, like I don't reach out to you, Larry, and say, hey, Larry, I need a loan. She's even doing that for me. So we have this lender's queue. She runs the lender's queue. She helps make sure the title company has all the documents. She helps with the payoffs. She helps me with my personal lending and my personal IRA that I do as far as that goes as well.
Right.
And she's also our in-house realtor, so she helps in that aspect.
That's awesome, man. You got quite a machine going over there.
Yes, and that's part of what the Community Go-Giver is all about, is letting people come see our office and what we're doing, but we're also like having a major focus on why we do what we do, which is to help those communities,
right.
Which is to have a purpose in life bigger than yourself. It's easy to think, my name is Jimmy, I'll take all you give me. That's easy. Even a baby knows how to be that way.
Right.
So like if you think about a baby, who do they think about? They only think about themselves. And what I think is so sad in entrepreneurs and even like the marketing that just lures entrepreneurs in is it's all about the fancy cars. It's all about how do they keep up with the Joneses, or how they go on that next vacation, or how can they help provide for their family, which I'm not saying family's not a big part of this. Family's where we learn love. Family's where we learn how to have charity in our life and understand that charity is more than just giving. It's a way of living. Like you can't just give something to your spouse and expect, that's going to last forever. Like charity in your marriage is a way of living. It's that working, so learning something so that you can bring it home. It's going to be part of you, and then you can give it to your spouse, or you can help your spouse with something that they're going through, which is what that whole mission for me even is about. Flipping Gary, it's about like that's like this back end. That's like everything I'm doing over here is to try to figure out how I can have, so then I can also give to be able to help the people in Gary and help that city become its own community that people want to go to. And it's even about the whole mission of giving away as much money as I possibly can in my lifetime and leaving the legacy of it's not for me. It's very easy to be selfish. It's very easy to be negative. It's hard to think about the positive, hard about how to make things better. And that's what Good Success is all about. I mean, that's what the mastermind is all about. It's a differentiator between, there's some amazing masterminds out there that teach real estate and real estate involved in there. But Good Success is about having that right kind of success, having the success that you will put your head on the pillow every night and say, I know I did the best I could do today. I didn't screw anybody. I know that there's only two ways to make money in this world. And number one is to add value to people's lives. And number two is to rip people off. And if you keep that focus, that mindset and that way of living, I think that's why we were put on this earth. I think we all have a purpose, and it all goes back to that purpose. And we have to lead with that charity and lead with love in everything that we do. Second of all, for Good Success is stewardship. Stewardship isn't just about, again, it's not about us. We didn't do anything to be born in America. What did you do, Larry, to be born in America?
Nothing. Not a thing.
Nothing. You were given that opportunity. Every opportunity we have has been given to us by somebody. We are not the owner. Sometimes we even think we're the owners of our own lives, and I don't believe that that's true. I'm a Christian. I have really strong Christian beliefs, and I believe that I was given life by God, and I believe that I was put here for a purpose, and I'm not here to just sit and make a bunch of money, which in my opinion is super easy, guys. Money's easy. I was here to figure out what that purpose is in my life, who I can help on the front end, and who I can help in the back end. I have a whole speech about be a conduit, not a bucket. I'm actually going to speak it. I'm going to do a really good speech at the Think Realty event here coming up in Atlanta. I almost always do a portion of that speech at the Community Go-Giver event, but really it's about being that conduit. It's not about at the end of the life just seeing how much gold you can have, because it's just going to sit and rot. Think about like if you put water in a bucket, what happens after a couple days or after a couple weeks, Larry?
It gets old.
it gets old and rotten, and that's what a lot of us want to live our lives to have all this gold and have everything. We don't realize that it doesn't do us any good sitting there. It does so much better if we'll let God give through us instead of God give to us. And so what can we do? How can we connect with somebody? How can I connect with you, Larry, to help somebody else I know in my network? And that, in my opinion, stewardship is about that conduit. How big of conduit do you have? How many different ends do you have on that conduit? And what is your real purpose in life? And how do I make it? How do I double it? You talk about the talents. You know the story about the talents.
Right.
You know, the master gave 1 talent to one guy and 2 talents to another guy and 5 to another guy. The guy that got 1 talent, he saved it. That's what we think we're supposed to do, is save it sometimes. We're supposed to, make sure. We think stewardship is all about keeping what we have. It's not. It's about risking it and making it better, making it doubling those talents. So whether it's our time, our talent, our treasure, I believe stewardship is about understanding you didn't get what you have because of you. It was given to us, and how can I double my time, talents, and treasures to be able to give back to the master or give back to the people that are in my communities. Communities number 3 for me, and it's about encouraging people. You've probably gotten a text from me. I send text messages out every single day to people, and I say, hey, I just want to let you know I'm thinking about you. I'm praying for you. If you need something, let me know. I mean, we have no idea what that does for people sometimes. There's a guy that's in our community. You know him very well. I won't mention his name, but I've been praying for him every day. He's been going through a tough time since like 2012 and his personal life. And he called me one day and told me the story. And to me, like, if I can encourage him every day, that's what community is all about. Showing up, being on time, participating when you're there. Right. Even our mastermind, I say, hey, when the mastermind's starting, like, I expect you in the mastermind. You're here. Participate. Don't be on your computers. Like, that's what community is all about. And being that encouragement to those people, exhort them and lift them up and try to help them. And if we're not growing every day, what are we doing? We're dying. So growth is the last thing that we really teach and preach with Good Success. And in all those areas, in our love, in our stewardship, and in our exhortation, and in our encouragement, and try to grow in those levels every single day is what I believe that good success is.
That's great, man. I really, really appreciate you sharing that, because this is all really important. Like you said, the money part is the simple part. It's the easy part, right? It's becoming a better person and being able to help others. I'm a firm believer, and I've always said, you should be giving while you're living, so you know where it's going, right?
Yeah, that's good. Larry Goins.
Yeah, there you go. But yeah, I think that's very, very, very important. Tom, if somebody wanted to reach out to you, check out your podcast or reach out to you, how would they get in touch with you?
Absolutely. So I really encourage you guys to follow me on Facebook. I have a public figure page and a personal page, which has too many friends. So you can try to connect with me there, but I have a public figure page. Good Success also has a group I'd love for you to be a part of. If you're the type of person that wants to help encourage people, that Good Success group is a great group to be a part of. We also have Good Success, just a regular page online. If you want to get a hold of me, I will give out my email. So Olson, Olson, @goodsuccess.com. So you can definitely email me there. And I'd encourage you guys, if you guys want a great mastermind to be a part of, I think you check out the Good Success Mastermind, goodsuccessmastermind.com. You can go there and find us there at that website, or communitygogiver.com as well as the Community Go Giver event, which is next June. The next mastermind is in Miami, November 8, 9, and 10. And the next Community Go Giver event is June 26, 27, 28 in our office. So if you guys want to check out those events, I would go to the websites communitygogiver.com or goodsuccessmastermind.com and find out more information about those.
Awesome. That sounds good, man. Tom, I really, really appreciate you being on today. It's been a wealth of information, good stuff, not only about real estate, but also about giving back. And that's what it's all about.
Well, I appreciate your time, and thank you for having me on your podcast and introducing me to your people. I really appreciate all that.
Awesome. Sounds good. Thanks a lot, buddy. I appreciate it.
Thanks, Larry.
Thanks.